Hello, we're back. It's week three. Week three of the NFL season, and best ball season never dies, apparently. It doesn't go away. It only hides for a couple of days. It hides for a couple of days while NBA gets up and running, while we tilt our first few weeks of NFL performances. If we don't have the big dog, we're tilting the big dog after not tilting the big dog in week one. We victory laps not having the big dog in week one. Now we're upset, right? But we're on to these in-season contests. And I know a lot of you guys that have been in the Discord have been hopping in these contests. I think Paul actually alerted me that it was about to fill, and I was going to do this draft tomorrow. So it's a little bit ad hoc here, a little bit off the cuff. Hopping in one of the remaining, there's only a couple hundred left, a couple hundred spots. So I'm actually going to go ahead and dive in. We'll see if it takes any time to get filled here. 4 out of 12. 4 out of 12. They've been filling quick enough. So I'm not super concerned. But I feel like there's a huge opportunity. And again, you guys in the Discord have been talking about this. Already, that there's two parts to it, I guess I would say. One is I think there's some fairly significant edges in these in-season best ball contests, especially what's kind of cool is DraftKings launching one every single week. And so, man, the market shifts every time they drop one of these after we get just that one more game of information. Are crazy, man. I think Paul in the Discord mentioned he got CEH, at pick 65 or something like that, and then on the flip side, a guy like Gronk is going crazy early. I can't even think off the top of my head because I haven't done one today, but I've done a handful of these, maybe 4 or 5 of these this week. I was really hoping to do a few more, but it filled so fast. I thought I had some time last week. It did not, it was bigger, but it definitely didn't fill last week. But there's both edges, I think, in these contests, as well as an opportunity to kind of continue to evolve our portfolio of best ball teams as we do gain more information. Either we can kind of fade the market's reactions to certain players, right? Like we mentioned CEH, which I'm sure we'll discuss CH some more, because I don't think it's just as cut and dry as, oh, this guy was a 3rd round pick. Now he's going in the 6th or 7th. We have to draft him. However, that opportunity does exist now. To kind of fade guys who are really rising or target guys who are really falling based on just a couple of weeks ago, right? We're we were drafting just a couple of weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, 14 days ago. And some of these guys we were taking, let's look at, here's Derrick Henry is now the number 2 overall pick. Even just last week in the week 2 best ball contest on DraftKings, it was not this was not the case, right? Then Derrick Henry explodes for one big game off of a horrible game. All the Titans were falling last week in this exact contest, this exact format. And now we're all back in on the Titans. Kamara, right? We were excited. Everybody was excited about Kamara. Now he's down a little bit. Let's see here. Devontae and Aaron Jones fell. And now they're all the way back up this week. It's been a really fascinating kind of exercise in just seeing how crazy the market shifts. So I like that they're doing these every single week because we can kind of see these huge differences. So this is really funny. The 2nd overall pick is very funny because which is obviously what I get. My preseason take was Kamara is the 102, and now he's going 8th overall. I I don't actually feel better about Dalvin, and I don't personally want to take Derrick Henry at 102. I think there are a little bit of reasons to believe that the Kamara situation might be a little worse. However, it's still like it was one bad game. It was one bad game. So I think beyond CMC basically is a fascinating situation now moving forward, and we'll see what happens this week. Right, Kamara gets kind of another tough matchup. Dalvin gets a so matchup, but he's been banged up. And so what I'm actually going to do is I'm holding to my priors on Kamara. I'd be lying if I said that I don't think that there are reasons to have a little bit of skepticism. Like, I get why he's, 5th or 6th overall now. But I also think it's like 1 week ago, one bad game with a Panthers defense that I kind of think is like super legit. How much have the Waller types shifted back down? Let's take a look. Waller is still 12th overall here, or that's his rank. Sorry. Yeah, 13, 14th overall here for Waller. I guess I can move this so you can see Waller here at about 13.8 ADP. Hey, thanks, Max. Let's see. I didn't get in the week 3 tourneys. Glad it filled early Wednesday, so hopefully they made it small, or they made it too big last week. It didn't come close to filling, like not even close. And then this week they made it too small, so it's going to fill today, basically. So I think they'll find maybe a sweet spot, 5,000, 6,000, something like that for next week would be my guess. Let's see. I haven't done any in-season best ball yet, but definitely looking on Yahoo and DraftKings. Yeah, somebody pointed out to me Eagles, who's in this draft. I think Eagles is in here. Yeah, Eagles is in here. Pointed out to me that Yahoo has some stuff that I'm on the lookout for. Haven't gotten around to it yet. I've been trying to get a few things done here this week, especially for NBA, get the drafters contest stuff out, which if you guys haven't seen, if you go to Spike Week and you go to the drafters contest leaderboard that is updated now, you guys are crushing it. My team suck on drafters, but you guys are crushing it. We have amongst the people that are participating in our contest, which is 2,200 entries, I believe, half the top 20, 11 of the top 20 overall in the drafters $11 tournament are in our Spike Week tournament. Pretty crazy. But anyway, Eagles is one who mentioned to me on Twitter about Yahoo, and he's one of the best ball players out there. Also one of the highest volume. So if you're seeing him in your drafts, it's not as much fun as not seeing him in your drafts. But yeah, I just think that this is also a fair point, Josh. Want to play a few weeks when bye week strategy gets included. That's definitely interesting. One thing I will say is that I don't think now I haven't done a draft since Fields got confirmed to be the starter this week, but I think that the market wasn't, we were drafting Justin Fields and Trey Lance in the 10th, 11th rounds of drafts all offseason, even though we had the full season. So we really had to weigh those early season games as a bigger percentage of the games that we were drafting them for, right? When we're paying for 17 games for every player in our draft, and we knew they were going to miss some, right? Lance probably more than Fields, but we knew that they were going to sit out some games. And then now, like, they fell in these contests. And it's like, well, they've already missed, they've already not played in a couple of the games, but they fell here. They should be, in theory, they should be higher in these drafts because you have less games that they have to sit for, in theory. Now, that may not end up being the case, right? Maybe Lance sits the whole year. I don't know. I don't expect that. But damn it, JT. I'm really trying to buy the JT thing. I posted on Twitter earlier today about JT that basically I'm very excited for. Okay, I'm going to take Jefferson. I'm cool with this start. Alvin Kamara, CeeDee Lamb, Justin Jefferson. Not a start. You could get all that easily before the season started. And my opinions on CeeDee have certainly not changed. If anything, I feel better about CeeDee. And my opinions on Justin Jefferson's all have really not changed. I know maybe some people are worried about the KJ Osborne targets, but I am not worried. If anything, I think, the concerns about the thoughts that maybe the Vikings defense is a little better this year. And, any concerns about, a super run heavy approach, I'm not too worried about that for Jefferson or Thielen. And, they're not really using the tight end. Osborne is just filling in kind of those ancillary targets. I think everything we thought about Jefferson and Thielen is still good. But let's just look at some of these. Yeah, for sure. Hawk. Definitely. No reason to hate on Hawk. This is buying pretty high, I think, but I think he's going to have a great year. I think that the thing with Hawk is like he's going to have. I think he's going to be an awesome pick wherever we took him pre-draft. But Kyle Pitts is falling with basically all the same underlying data, but he hasn't scored touchdowns on an offense who's also, maybe we're just out on the Falcons, and I get trust me, I get offensive line, I get Matt Ryan and all that kind of stuff, but we're out on Kyle Pitts has plummeted in these drafts, and Hawkinson is shot way up into the third round. And their underlying data really isn't that different. And Hawk just happens to have scored 2 touchdowns. It's like Gronk. It's kind of like Gronk doesn't, isn't going to maintain this. And he shot way up, but it's all touchdowns. Hawkinson's definitely not all touchdowns. The volume is awesome. But if he doesn't score those touchdowns, what? What are we looking at? Let's see. But I do feel good about basically all the elite tight ends. I'm cool still with buying Kittle. I'm not worried. Could end up being wrong. I'm not worried about yeah, I know you've messaged me. You're very worried about Lance. I'm not worried about my opinion on the 49ers hasn't changed. If anything, their running back situation keeps getting worse. Ayuk, who knows what's going on with Ayuk. Kittle, it's only a matter of time for Kittle. They're not throwing with Jimmy G, and they're not throwing down the field. I don't think that it's going to change with Trey Lance. If anything, his legs will open things up. The fact that you have a zone read quarterback helps an offense. It helps open things up for the offense. That's what Lamar, I'm not saying he's Lamar, but that's what Lamar does for his pass catchers, and they don't throw very much. So I'm not worried about the Niners. I'm excited for the Niners. They're actually a target for me in these. Ayuk has plummeted, and I'm willing to take my shots on Ayuk at this new cost. At this cost that he's at right now is pretty wild. Okay, there goes Thielen. He's on auto. Let me see what this dude's got. He's on auto pick, and I really want Pitts here. So I got to see if I can get. I don't have a strong preference here, so I'm actually just going to take Pitts, because if he takes CEH and Russ, I think that'll be fine. Edmonds. Now the CEH decision. I'm taking A-Rob over CEH. I mean, if you think Mark Andrews is the same thing as Kittle, then we just disagree about the upside of those two players. Right, it's 2 games. That's what I'm saying. It's 2 games. Last week we were out on the Titans From one game, they suck. They didn't do what we wanted on offense. Then they exploded. 49ers will be fine. The bet's still the same. They got ahead by 1 million in week 1 and took their foot off the gas. And honestly, the Eagles never really challenged them, and Jimmy never threw the ball down the field last week. It's all screens and short stuff. They have their running back issues. I'm pretty excited about the 49ers. Schedule's still amazing. Does make me interested on Sermon too. Now you remove Mostert. The bet on Sermon later in the year, it feels gross, but the bet was never that he supports 3 pass catchers. The bet is that he's also, how do you guarantee he's taking runs away from passes? What if they pass the same, he takes runs away from the running backs? The bet is that the offense is amazing and efficient, and the running quarterback makes the offense even more efficient, and they score more points. And he's not supporting 3 pass catchers a week. Nobody supports 3 pass catchers a week. Patrick Mahomes really doesn't support 3 pass catchers a week, right? Dak doesn't support 3 pass catchers a week. You're just hoping that he supports the 1 that you drafted, or the 2 that you drafted, or that they ping pong good weeks back and forth. Kittle ran routes on 88% of dropbacks in week 2, way higher than normal. Yeah. And even this is a good conversation just around, and I'm sure we'll actually talk about this at happy hour in a little bit, but not getting anchored to these 2 games that have just happened. Even when we have that data, right? We have data on everything that has happened, and it's like, okay, if this continues, what? But we get so attached to that data, and that data could completely change. Tom Brady was horrid last year in the first 2 weeks, and as somebody who faded Tom Brady last year, that was very fun. Those were like the only 2 fun weeks of the entire season as somebody that was low on the Bucs last year. But we were up. They weren't passing a ton. They were very much not being effective passing. They were not throwing the ball deep down the field. Brady looked washed. And then all of a sudden, boom, everything changed. They're throwing crazy high volume. The whole offense changes, and they get more productive, right? Where it's easy to get anchored to these first 2 weeks of everything that just happened, when maybe it is predictive. Maybe it's not. I mean, even the Cowboys threw it 50-something times in the first week, and then they threw it 27 times in week 2. What's real? What do they want to do? Or what are defenses? Was it was strictly the Chargers were, forcing them to run the ball? There's too much uncertainty around 2 weeks, around what happened with 2 weeks for me to get too attached to it. And it's not that it's not something. It's something. But it's balancing all of that stuff. Right, but buying preseason 2nd, 4th, and 6th rounders, you can't afford anybody. I mean, Debo's been good. Debo's leading the NFL in receiving, isn't he? Hopefully Hendo's okay. But I'm kind of surprised where Henderson's going. I do get some of. I'm also gonna buy this Javonte dip as well. I'm very bullish for Javonte moving forward. Yeah, I think we're talking past each other. I don't think anybody said that that anybody is going to. I'm really on Javonte right now. I think what we've seen in the first couple of weeks is, again, the box score hasn't been perfect, but get a young rookie to come in and play a pretty big role. The bet is obviously throughout the course of the season that he just takes more and more and more. as a part of that backfield. And I think where he stands right now, he's such a good bet in these. And it's weird to me that he's kind of, he hasn't fallen a bunch, but he's fallen, I don't know, 10 picks or something like that compared to what he was going, just 2 weeks ago, which I think it should be the opposite. I think he should have gone up. But again, I guess it's just the box score thing. And maybe people wanted to see him have more than 50% of that backfield, wanted to see him do a ton. And I don't know. I feel good. I feel really good about Javonte. But yeah, just to put a bow on the 49ers thing, I don't think the bet was ever that all of them will be supported at ADP. Frankly, the Bengals were the same. I don't think anybody expected that just because each player is not going to end up being a win at their ADP doesn't mean that they're bad picks at their ADP. As weird as that sounds. Same thing with the Bengals, same thing with the Cowboys. It's not super likely that Amari Cooper is the ideal third-round pick when CeeDee Lamb is the ideal 2-3 turn pick and Michael Gallup is the ideal seventh-round pick and Zeke is the ideal first-round pick and Tony Pollard, right? All these things can't be true. Chase, Higgins, and Boyd can't all probably be the optimal pick at their cost, especially with Mixon the pick at his, at his cost. All these things cannot be true. But that doesn't make any of them bad picks based on the payoff that they provide and the upside that they provide and the relative floor. Now, Brandon Ayuk is not playing and Kittle has not provided that floor so far, but it's 2 weeks, man. It's 2 weeks. Like George Kittle, nothing has changed about George Kittle. Maybe. I mean, I would say that you're wrong about the Bengals. Bengals are throwing less in terms of pass rate over expectation than the 49ers. Why does that argument count for them and not for the 49ers? And their offensive line looks bad. They can't protect Burrow. They're running the shit out of the ball. The Bengals are. But their draft costs were okay. I don't think that doesn't make any sense to me. But these are the things that we're trying to balance, right? Sorry, Ricky, I missed this. Brian Edwards or Odell? Odell for me, especially with this Landry thing. I get having a little bit of trepidation around Odell, but with no Landry, none of these other wide receivers really emerging. DPJ not emerging. I'm not worried about Schwartz as like a target dominator. I'm actually kind of bullish for Odell. It looks like he's kind of hinting that he'll be back. That he'll be back this week. Excuse me. Oh, man, I would really love both Pittman and Robbie here, but he's going to take one of them. Oh, man. Let's go, Rob. I really like Pittman, but... Yeah, not to keep arguing, Ricky, but the thesis behind the 49ers was efficiency, and that made sense. Speaking of, I'm going to take Ayuk now. I think we're just picking and choosing when to react and when not to react. And like I said, I don't know what's right. Maybe the Bengals start coming out slinging it now. Maybe the 49ers are just never going to throw. Could be. But we're very tied to what has happened in 2 games with all of these teams. See here. All right, 5 wide receivers. Got my tight end. Not worried about running back. The quarterback thing in these drafts has been super fascinating. Super fascinating. Okay, Fields at 115. Yeah, the Darnold rise is really funny. Yo, you got to let somebody else get a word in, bro. I love you. but we don't need to keep going back and forth. On this, the Bryan Edwards, let me pull. Honestly, I didn't even look that deeply at the Raiders last week. Let me pull up Bryan Edwards. Yeah, I'm not super I'm not incredibly bullish on Bryan Edwards. I wasn't incredibly bullish on him before, and he's not really dominating targets. If anything, what we saw from Ruggs last week, Renfro is doing his thing, which is maybe should have been expected. They're playing Renfro actually a ton, and he earns targets. And then we know what Waller is going to do, earning targets. And if they're actually going to scheme to get Ruggs the ball a little bit more, which they finally did, again, will they continue to do that? I don't know. I don't know if they will, but the Raiders are kind of tough right now, at least as it pertains to Bryan Edwards. I think the Raiders are one that I got way, way, way wrong. I thought that they were a really good bet to regress from an efficiency standpoint this year offensively. And I thought there were a lot of good indicators in terms of why they might regress offensively. I wasn't a big Derek Carr believer. I wasn't a big believer in the extent to which he would not push the ball down the field. And then, you have not a great defense and an offensive line that had heaps of concerns with all the guys they lost on the offensive line. But all they've done, again, it's only 2 games, but in not amazing matchups, they've really played well on offense. And they're kind of so far proving me really wrong about kind of my thesis of the Raiders. And I've been impressed, not even just with the results, but how they're playing. Like I said, Carr was not a guy I was really very high on, but seeing him kind of push the ball down the field, and he's even talked about it a little bit, that he used to just throw the ball away and check down a ton. And I can't remember the exact quote, but talking about how, kind of with how football has evolved and how some of the rules have changed and all that kind of stuff, he knows that he needs to push the ball down the field a little bit further. And now we're seeing it in the results. So, that's being fairly low on the Raiders has been, Carr's just a pretty good thrower of the football. See, this is so hard for me with these quarterbacks that are here to take any of these guys. Good Lord, CPAT at 116. What are we doing here, guys? I'm actually going to try to buy Mooney here just to see, because if something happens with him, with Fields there now, I think he's going to get a pretty big boost. And I know why are we still doing the Visca thing? I don't know. I can't help myself. I guess I'm going to the grave with Visca. But again, same thing here. Assuming he plays Visca this week, the Jags are in an awesome spot this week. Now they disappoint. Last week, I understand why they disappointed. They disappointed in week 1 in an awesome spot too, but they're in an awesome spot this week. So again, in this contest, if they actually do have a step forward, they do take a step forward this week, just from a box. Next week, we do the same thing again, right? We're drafting week 4 best ball team. I'm not going to be able to get Visca, if he does actually have a good game here at this cost. And that's kind of my bet on a lot of these things. It's just playing the market a little bit, right? Maybe it is curtains for the Jags, and maybe it is curtains for Visca, and the original market was just wrong on them. But I'm kind of not even looking that much at the first 2 weeks, a little bit here and there. Obviously, I've talked about some of the situations where I am. But look at this team. It's all the guys that I would have drafted. I'm just accumulating all the guys that I would have drafted before, because my overall bet is just basically those first 2 weeks didn't really matter. Let's just take kind of the best overall player if we were drafting 2 weeks ago, right? When would you ever get Kamara, CD, Jefferson, A-Rob, Henderson, right? Mooney, especially now that we know Fields is starting, right? Ayuk. When would you get all these guys? Javonte Pitts. You would never have been able to get all these guys. And so maybe the situations do just suck for some of them. Maybe it's Coffins for LaVisca. Maybe it's Coffins for Ayuk. But like I feel like at their current costs, I'm more than happy to bet that that's not true, right? Visca is your 7th wide receiver. Like I'm cool betting that, even if I'm wrong. You know what I mean? The issue is definitely going to be quarterback on this team. We're at least seeing a little bit more of a flat tier here. Right, but again, mega small sample. Just because that happened doesn't mean it's going to continue to happen. Which I know people probably get sick of me saying that kind of thing. Like I get it, we saw something. But at the beginning of the year last year, we saw Olabisi Johnson playing ahead of Justin Jefferson. And so if you came into this draft, like we're doing right now, at this time last year, you'll be like, oh my, how can I draft Justin Jefferson? He's not even playing in front of Olabisi Johnson. Oh, I can't draft Tom Brady. I can't draft the Bucks because of what they did in the first 2 weeks. Couldn't draft Derrick Henry last year. Derrick Henry was horrid through 2 weeks. You know, and you probably would have been really high on the Patriots. They were passing. Cam was running like crazy. Edelman was racking up targets. And look what happened there. So like my general overall thesis is I'm doing the opposite of being anchored to the first 2 weeks, and I'm cool being wrong about that kind of thing. Just because I think the payoff exists more in basically fading everything that happened in these first 2 weeks. Except when somebody's going to give me my boy Darnold here in a minute. Yeah. Elijah Moore falling is kind of funny. Cephas in the 13th round is pretty funny. Tight end is, oof, what a wasteland. Yeah, I'm doing it, guys. We're going too high on Darnold. I'm kind of terrified about what happens at quarterback here if I don't do something with quarterback. I really like Teddy, but I'm going to buy Lawrence also. All right. Darnold and Lawrence it is. Darnold and Lawrence it is. I like this team. Would have loved to get Fields, but that's okay. If you guys are not doing anything later, sounds like I'm asking on a date or something. If you guys are not doing anything in an hour and 10 minutes, it's happy hour time again. Where we can just talk about all things best ball, all things football, all things NBA is here now. I am not smart enough to talk about NHL, but sure, we can talk about it. If you're playing any of the NHL contests, it's always a fun time. On Wednesdays. Today is at 5:15 p.m. Eastern. Had to push it back 15 minutes just because of this. I had to move some things around with this draft because I wanted to get, like I said, I was going to do this tomorrow at lunchtime, but it obviously was going to fill before then. Let's see, up in 14. Really wide open here what to do. Darnold and Lawrence. I'd be open to a third quarterback here, I think. There's Edwards. Callaway is another interesting one. People are... Has there ever been more of a roller coaster of ADP than Marquez Callaway? From 18th round pick, not even drafted in every draft. to eighth round pick, and then which was definitely a little ridiculous. And he's run a little bad, right? He's run a little bad on their first 2 game situations. So I do kind of like buying back a little bit of Callaway. I do like buying back a little bit of Callaway in these contests. So I still think he's going to be. I still think he's going to be fine. But again, the market is just like out. It's like I said, from the last round pick or undrafted to the most steamed player in all of draft season, to now 2 bad games. One where he faces Jair Alexander and they throw 20 passes. And then the next one where they just, nobody had a chance. Alvin Kamara scored 5 fantasy points, right? Something like 7 fantasy points. And they just got flat out dominated. So, the concerns definitely exist for the Saints too, but I think we've done both sides of the Saints. We've done I was probably too low to start the offseason, and then we probably got too high, and now we're back to being way, way too low. And I think it's actually fairly possible that we're just massively overreacting to the Saints, and we're underreacting to just actually how good the Panthers are. Not even like Darnold or anything like that. Damn it, there goes Lance. Not even like Darnold or anything like that, but like that defense, just the team overall. I think people aren't giving them enough credit. And we'll see tomorrow night. Hopefully they can just wipe the floor with the Texans. All right. I'll take my Callaway. Boy, Zach Wilson really. Ooh, Damian. That's like, oh my gosh, running back is. Let's just add Damian to the queue and take a peek at tight end. Apparently, I'm just gonna have a. Actually, we're gonna go Cole Kmet for my second tight end. We're just. Apparently I'm all in Bears here, which honestly I'm pretty cool with. Obviously wish I had Fields, given that I have A-Rob, Moody, and Kmet. But I really like, if you're hopping in any of these drafts, don't at me if Fields is a colossal bust, but I think it's just an awesome time to buy these Bears as Field gets into the lineup. And maybe they'll have the matchup is not ideal. And so next week might be another good time to buy, but I feel like the market might get it next week. Yeah, Fields is totally fine. Totally fine naked. And you had options to backdoor stack him, with Kmet. So I think it was totally fine. And probably Mooney. I don't know if I took Mooney before you took Fields. I don't remember. But yeah, Fields is a perfectly fine pick unstacked, in my opinion. I do think it's interesting, super, super interesting what we're drawing away from Fields running. We went from some of the narrative around Justin Fields was that he doesn't run enough, even though he's a freak athlete during the offseason, because he didn't run a ton at Ohio State because he didn't need to. And because he's a pretty good passer and he would hang in there to give his receivers a chance. And he ran, obviously. It was 40-something yards a game. But anyway, he wasn't Lamar Jackson, despite the athleticism. There was a little bit of that narrative going around, like, he doesn't run a ton. And then the preseason, he's running around like a madman. And now it's like, oh, my God, he's the greatest runner of all time. He's going to run so much. And he might, because he has to run for his life behind that offensive line. But I do always find it interesting, like what we're drawing away from, and he ran 10 times last week. I get it. But it is always interesting. up in 7 picks. Doot, doot, doot. I also find it interesting if we just look through wide receiver here. Some of the guys were like the popular late round young guys, and they haven't popped just yet, but it feels weird. Feels a little weird to me that we're all we've pushed down Diami and Hamler. I know Bateman's hurt. Let's see, DPJ, we're out. Like, these guys are playing, they just haven't popped yet, right? So I think that's kind of interesting. Paris Campbell, we're all the way the hell out on Paris Campbell, obviously. Pretty interesting. Amon-Ra. And again, it's not that there aren't indicators. It's just, it's 2 weeks. It's 2 weeks. Oh, I say that and you guys are, oh no, okay, Hamler's still here. I will not quit Hamler either, not even if there's a fire. I think we drafted the winner here, guys. No need to enter the rest of these. I think we got the winner. I say that, and it's like the fade the first 2 weeks team, right? Kamara sucked. Henderson was pretty good. CD was good. But like, this is legitimately just fade the first 2 weeks team. Everybody that has sucked or underperformed in the first 2 weeks. I definitely, it is a funny thing with these drafts, though. That's a really interesting nuance. Like I said, if they keep doing these every single week, because part of this, maybe the biggest part, it's the skill in doing these drafts all off season, is like not even player identification or whatever, right? It's like knowing the player pool. And like, there's no real way to know the player pool in these drafts, like, at all. It changes so fast. When they open it up for the first few drafts, when they open it up, there's no ADP. It's the like literally the very first ADP. So like, Henderson goes at pick 150 or whatever in the first couple of drafts. So there's the anarchy of that, which is kind of fun. I try to get in right. If you're following along, like if you're in the Discord, there's always somebody that posts it like right after they have opened this contest up during the week, and they're fun to get in because it's kind of a race to see who gets Henderson at the best price and who gets all these guys that were about Tyson and Elijah Mitchell, whatever. But you'll never, not only like can you never really truly learn the pockets of every draft and the ADP of every player, even if you learn it, the drafts, like, it doesn't always go according to ADP, right? Like, people are going to go reach and get their guy, or, we definitely see that with DraftKings drafts in general. So I think these are pretty fascinating drafts to get into. Whereas, like, if you're doing underdog drafts by late August, it's like, okay, I know who's available here, or like, oh, I got sniped on my stack, I'm going to put this backdoor stack together. And like, you only have 2 days to do these drafts. You don't have time to learn all those pockets of the draft. So nobody has like a truly distinct advantage in terms of just instinctively knowing those things. Geo. See, people are out on Geo too, which is kind of interesting. What do I have? 4 running backs? Yeah. Running back is bad. I do have a guy here. That I like. If the CEH thing is an issue, I really do like McKinnon. I really do like McKinnon. Goodness. Now, I don't really like any of these other running backs. Shocker. I'm gonna hold true to DPJ here. Like I said, this is the all fade the first 2 weeks team. DPJ is just running wind sprints, but we're not giving up. We're not giving up hope on KJ Hamler. We're not giving up hope on Komet or Callaway or Visca. We're not giving up hope on the Bears, certainly. Other than Sam Darnold, this is you're seeing my general thesis of fading the first 2 weeks in action. Now I got a really good one for this last pick as my fade the first couple of weeks. But yeah, so obviously we'll be done here in a few minutes. And then in about an hour, we'll be back. We'll be back to hop on happy hour. You'll probably if you thought hard enough, I bet you would be able to figure it out. But it's not someone that most people are drafting. Let's just say that. That's funny. But yeah, in about an hour, we can talk about. I don't know if this is going to fill or what. But yeah, I like the happy hour. Happy hour is a safe space. It's a safe space if you want to victory lap your best ball teams or if you want to tilt your best ball teams, right? We can't post our screenshots to Twitter because the FBI will come for us. We can't victory lap 2 weeks of the season or tilt 2 weeks of the season, but it's a safe space. It's a safe space to discuss all the things that we're tilted about from the first 2 weeks. Like Antonio Gibson not scoring a touchdown or Jonathan Taylor not scoring a touchdown, but Aaron Jones scoring 4 touchdowns in one game. Not tilted about that at all. Or Tyreek Hill scoring 40 fantasy points in week 1 and getting taken away in week 2 and never even getting the ball. Scoring less fantasy points than Byron Pringle. Not tilted about that at all. And for my NBA folks, if anybody's here that's playing NBA, I think it's just such an awesome time. There's really good conversation in the Discord going on around NBA, specific players, strategy, and all that kind of stuff. I think it's a really, really fun time to be drafting these NBA teams. You know, they're going to get to camp soon, and we're going to get a lot more news and stuff rolling in. And I feel like the market has already shifted a good bit on certain players. But we're in, early offseason days, like if we were comparing it to NFL, we were in the days when Rondale Moore was going in the 16th round. That's where we're at right now of NBA drafts. So I think it's a really, really, really good time. Absolutely. I always struggle to say your name, so I'm just going to call you Pecan it's a difficult name to say. It's a difficult name to say. Was it Jeremy? What's your name, Dan? What's your username? Cheers, mate. Oh, I see the avatar now. Jalen Guyton. Dan PJ. Who did you take? McNichols? You wish I was taking Jeremy McNichols. Darrington Evans, baby. Darrington Evans. If you think I've given up on Darrington because of one short-term IR stint, you're crazy. I'm not drafting no Jeremy McNichols. It's still Darrington season. Seriously, though, I hope he comes back. I hope he plays. Doesn't ride the bench. That was incredibly close. So close. But I like that. I like the McNichols pick too. All right, guys. Thank you for joining me. Like I said, a little less than an hour. We'll be back for happy hour. So if you're hanging out, we reach Wednesday, and maybe everybody needs a little drink. Maybe you need to tilt your best ball teams. Maybe we want to talk about tomorrow's game. Whatever we want to talk about. Whatever floats your boat. Anything. Be back in a little bit less than an hour. But for me and for Ricky and for Dan and for Tony and for everybody in the chat, and of course for Darrington Evans, I will see you guys in 45 minutes. Later.